Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Delighted to be here with you.
Hi there. Listen, I am just so excited to have you today. I am very excited, Diane, to have you today. I have been looking at your ministry. I've been looking at your practice. And for me, this is a special treat. Would you give us a little bit of inside information for our viewers about yourself?
Sure. Thank you. And I'm glad to be here with you today. It's amazing meeting you finally. I'm Dianne Jones, social worker by trade, clinical social worker. Been in private practice for about 8 years. Primarily my work focuses on women in trauma and teaching women how to forgive themselves and get back to their joy, figuring out who they are, why they're here, and just realizing and accepting that there's a life for you, and it's full of joy, can be. So just working with women to unpack some trauma.
I'm so happy to have met you, coming to find out that you are from the DMV.
Yes, I am.
Tell us the type of work that you did in the DMV.
So I'm originally from Connecticut, but been in the DMV since '91. Ooh, the sun has come out on us full blast all of a sudden.
This is wonderful.
It is. So in the DMV, my work in '91 was primarily in HIV and AIDS, working with women who were HIV positive. As you know, at that point, the focus was not on women, it was on gay men. And so women were dying and nobody was noticing or paying attention. All the prevention messages allow women to identify out, like this is not about me, it's not for me. Meanwhile, the whole time we're dying by the thousands. And so my work then became being an advocate and a voice for women who didn't have a voice, and advocating for them in different systems, many systems, hospitals, schools, in their home. And so HIV for a lot of women was layered with violence. A lot of them went in relationships not by their choice. A lot of them became positive through rape, and just lots of abuse. And so my work has always been seated in working with women in trauma. So from then went on to develop programs for women and administer other programs that were already existing with people of color in healthcare facilities.
I think that the idea of trauma and Black women is unfortunately quite prevalent.
Yes.
Your work in the DMV is significant. You have a body of work that not only is much needed, or was needed.
Yes.
But your work is not just limited to the DMV. Can you give us an idea of how you got to Mexico? What is your passion in regards to what you want to achieve in Mexico, what you're hoping to achieve, and what has been your experience so far in Mexico?
So I've been in Mexico now about 6 months. My original reason for coming to Mexico was my own asylum, and seeking my own healing and my time out. COVID, as you know, is still going on, but at the onset of COVID, as a Black female therapist, we were highly sought out.
Absolutely.
And very overwhelmed with work. And I was telling Lisa that it became to a point where I couldn't say no. And so there were so many people calling and reaching out for therapy for their first time. And there's no way that I can continue to say no, even though I was full, just kept taking people. And so I looked up and I hit a wall. And so, and I was saying also, I didn't realize how hard I hit a wall until I got to Mexico. I know I needed to leave the States, because what happened initially was that I realized I couldn't do this work with helping people unpack their trauma when I'm being so affected by my own trauma, by what was going on in the States.
Definitely.
The racial trauma,
yes.
the the microaggressions, like all that. I couldn't help you with your trauma while I'm being fully immersed also in my own trauma.
Yes.
So initially I was thinking I need to get to a place where there's not the same level of trauma.
Yes.
And at that point, Mexico was wide open. So I'm like, let me just go to Mexico. I heard of a friend who moved to Merida, had never heard of Merida, did some research, loved everything I researched about it. Sight unseen, moved to Merida.
Wow, sight unseen.
Sight
Tell
unseen.
me about that process.
So initially, I was like, I'm gonna go do a relocation visit, stay in a hotel for a couple of weeks just to take a look around. So I got here, so some point between me coming and looking, I had decided, some part of me decided I was staying. I began my residency papers in DC. I met with the consulate. I met with the consulate on March 9th to get my temporary residency. My flight was March 10th. So got here that same week, met with a realtor that I started talking to when I was in the States, who lived in Merida, just to start getting a feel for places, what they look like, want to look at different areas to live in, and find a place that week. So I never went back. I was supposed to come for a visit, never went back.
Wow.
I had to go back at some point to close out my current lease that I was in.
Okay.
But that was it. So I went to do that and then came right back. And even felt the difference in being home for that month.
I'll bet it was tough.
It was tough.
When I went back to visit my family,
You
it was
could really feel it, right?
Your level of comprehension is on a much higher level. It is unbelievable.
I thought it was just me.
No, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
could feel it.
what you could tolerate a little bit prior to was, I can't tolerate this at all.
Yeah.
And I think that your mission, before I speak for you, how have you do you find that your mission is transferable here to Mexico?
So absolutely. And so even as I am here and undoing the layers of trauma that I experienced vicariously through working with so many women and different people who were traumatized, I think it is continue to unfold. I know my work is definitely for women of color, where my passion has always been, and want to do that globally in the sense of whether that in women's retreats as well as women's groups. And so there's so much healing in the collective body of women.
Yes.
And so I want to tap into that. And it's universal. It's universal.
It's universal, no doubt.
So,
and I think our missions are similar. My mission is to empower women on a global level, and Black and brown women.
absolutely.
Because I find that they have been the most repressed. There is such a thing that I've noticed here in Merida that I call the machismo, where they're male-dominated society, and it just seems like women are just now coming into their own. Machista, that's what my assistant says. But anyway, women are just now coming into their own. Women now are venturing out, they're starting businesses, and so it's just at the cusp now in Mexico. And the need for your services of therapy right now, what are some of the areas that you found that women need therapy in the most?
So I think the most undiagnosed that we deal with is depression. We walk around with low-grade depression forever, like we're born into it. It's in our DNA, like we're born into so much trauma for many of us. And so depression and anxiety are the two most common things that women experience, and we just keep going and keep going until you can't go anymore. A lot of us don't have the privilege of a nervous breakdown, so because you got to keep working, right?
Yes.
And so there's nobody to take care of the kids, there's nobody's going to run the house, so you just keep going.
Yes.
And so
until you perhaps have a real breakdown, like I had in corporate
until
America.
you have any choice.
Yes.
Until you just hit
which
the
is
wall
like
so
a
hard.
breakdown, because I know with myself, that's how I got into therapy. Was I had a real breakdown after corporate America had just gotten all of it could out of me. I had nothing left to give to myself, to my family, or anyone. And that leads us to self-care also. How do you tell us the steps that you went through for your inner healing, and what are some of the steps that you recommend for your clients?
Absolutely. And so, it's not a cookie cutter thing.
Okay.
And I think, because everybody's kind of, we respond to different things. But one thing I was saying to Lisa that I start with is figuring out what brings you joy, because we don't even know.
Exactly.
We don't even know. We haven't had joy in so long. We don't know what makes us happy.
Yes.
So just, first of all, spending some time with yourself, figuring out what makes you happy, coming back home to yourself, wander around yourself, spend some time with yourself, just figuring out what makes you happy.
Yes.
You know what makes everybody else happy, but do you really know what makes you happy?
Yes.
So figuring that out, one, and it doesn't take self-care, it shouldn't take money, it shouldn't be expensive. Just
Exactly.
a simple thing, spending time in nature, walking in the sand, long baths with different aromatherapy oils that you can get at the grocery store.
Yes.
Those change your whole mood. Some nice lavender changes your whole mood. And just being able to get your little diffuser, have that going in your room, going to bed with that, waking up to that, spending time journaling, getting your thoughts out, because you got to get those negative thoughts out, especially the negative self-talk. The critic that lives in our head has to die. And we need to change the messages that are coming through us through those conversations. So just some simple things. Just start with the simple things. Taking walks, taking it all in. But the most important thing I tell people to start is spending some alone time, unapologetically, because we always think it's selfish. I'm taking this time for myself. No. Unapologetically take time for yourself, whatever that entails for you. For me, it was getting to the beach. It was getting to the water. The water is my recharge.
Yes.
It's my renewal.
Yes.
I could spend hours in the water.
Yes.
Just taking it in. So there's something to be said, which is why baths are so effective too, about the submerging in the water.
Yes.
And coming up new and just being renewed and refreshed. So for me, it was getting to the water. And doing it and just being totally recharged, and the sun recharges you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
It changes your whole mood.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying not only are your services are many. Your services include many different things. But basically, I'm hearing inner healing.
Yes.
I'm hearing self-care.
Yes.
I'm hearing rejuvenation.
Yes.
I am hearing a refocus on self-identity and how that will impact your joy.
Yes.
And also lead to what it is that you're supposed to exact out. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yes.
Your purpose.
Yes.
One of the things that Lisa's Gainst the Odds empowerment movement does is to focus on women, their purpose, focus on the keys to strategies that will help women, entrepreneurs, and women with disabilities overcome devastating odds to fulfill their dreams.
Yes.
I like the way that Dianne Jones has had the courage to come to Mexico, not only to fulfill her dream, but she has come to Mexico to help and empower other women to fulfill their dreams.
Yes.
And I want to say to you, because we're going to leave her information in the description, but if you need to recharge, if you need to reinvent yourself, if you need to heal and refine your purpose and joy, you need to contact Dianne Jones because she is the business. And she is here in Mexico giving her all to help women, to empower women. We want to help Dianne and we want to support Dianne, but more importantly, we want to welcome Dianne to Mexico.
Yes, thank you.
And we want to say to you ladies, you can achieve your dreams. You can fulfill all your dreams. against all odds. And we thank you,
Thank you.
Dianne
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
for being a guest on this show today. Again, we're going to link all of her descriptions, all of her information in the description. And we thank her for coming to Mexico. And we look forward to the great things that she's going to do here.
Can I say one thing in closing?
In closing, you definitely can.
In closing, I want to say that you survived your trauma to be great. It wasn't just for you. You survived for a reason. So if you survived it, there's still a purpose for you, and there's still
Yes.
some joy that waits for you.
Yes.
And we're always told that we can't have joy, we can't have happiness, or that's the end.
Yes.
So there is joy that awaits you. And why not? Why not take the chance on you? Why not take the risk to spend some time with you and get to know you and rediscover your joy? So that's what I'm here to do. So thank you, Lisa.
We thank Dianne Jones for coming to Mexico, and we thank Dianne Jones for her purpose. And we thank you for her
Thank God.
passion.
Thank God.
Again, reach out to Dianne Jones, and we thank you. You can achieve, you can fulfill your dreams
Yes.
against all odds.
Against all odds.